not the intelligence of books and
Great American Institute symbolic
coming and trying to support
signs
the
the
long
emancipation
teachings
of
of
the
earth
free. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
to our long
This nation will rise up to live out the true meaning of its creed.
except we obey. I feel like
What we're seeing in the U.S. right now is an epidemic of stress-related illness.
but also what is happening in the inner world, the world of also
We've created a culture that moves very quickly. We have very little time to stop and to feel ourselves.
You know, we have communities and community schools where people are coming from broken homes and environments where they're experiencing stress and poverty at home, and then bring that with them to school.
When people have stressful jobs, it can raise their heart rate, raise their blood pressure, make them more susceptible to a variety of different illnesses, from inflammatory conditions to heart disease and stroke.
I think so many of the problems we're facing as a society are related to psychosocial stressors.
People are so afraid to talk about mental health and so afraid to talk about whatever they're going through, whatever they've gone through.
An education without looking at the heart as well as the mind isn't really an effective education.
And I think there is external stigma that prevents us from wanting to acknowledge to others that there's something going wrong because we're afraid they're going to judge us.
I don't think we're doing a very good job at educating the heart.
So if you look at your children and you look at stress and you look at anger and you look at violence and you look at poor performance, then the only place you can look is right back at yourself as the society that's rearing them.
There are students who are just drowning. They're stressed out.
You know, when you come into a school and you don't have textbooks and you walk through a metal detector and are frisked and it's stressful.
There's a lot of pressure both from society, their parents, themselves.
Students disrespect the teachers, teachers disrespect the students, parents don't trust teachers.
And your peers are going to prison.
They feel like they're on a treadmill, and the treadmill is all the way up to 10. They can't go any further.
And there's a culture of violence is cool. I curse at my friends because that's cool, you know, I insult them just to be cool. I have to be slightly violent, and violence has been made popular like that.
I feel like the cycle just spirals out into the communities at home with the neighborhoods. I feel that education is the foundation for all change. The mind is the basis of how we perceive the world and how we act in the world.
The idea that we really need to think about the person as not just a biological being, but someone who has a social, spiritual, and psychological self, and how do we engage those other parts of ourselves to help ultimately improve the biological part of ourselves.
And so to find a way to balance in these big inner city schools the need to educate with the need to support individuals.
What is character development? We're not teaching students let alone college kids, what good character development is.
We haven't yet, in this country, gotten deep enough into exploring the potential of really focusing on social, emotional education, on character development at its root.
In all respects, the work that Active Minds does should be happening in kindergarten, and I think it really starts in coping skills and coping mechanisms, and again, really helping young people understand who they are.
So when students are given more power over their own curriculum and their own choices, I feel like they have more pathways, and they find that they're able to do whatever they want. They're able to reach their dreams.
Mindfulness, I think, in general is the idea that how do we pay attention to our own thoughts and our feelings and our experiences.
Mindfulness is really about training attention. Attention is really the place where you meet the world. It's the interface where you contact everything.
It's that ability to kind of rest within ourselves and to rest at a level that enables us to really engage who we are as human beings.
If you can strengthen the way that interface is actually supported, if you can intensify it, learning happens more easily. And that's why it's so important.
Getting students to think about how they're moving through their day. How are they treating other students, other people? How are they treating themselves? How are they managing their stress, their time? How are they managing the distractions that we face every day?
As a way to enhance quality of life and help people to deal with difficulty, I think it's completely mainstream.
There's been a lot of clinical studies now, particularly on MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction.
When we did some initial studies of people doing meditation practices where they were intensely focusing their mind, what we find, for example, is a very strong increase in activity in the areas of the brain that help us to focus our mind, to help us to focus our attention.
We know that it works for chronic pain, it works to lower blood pressure, MBSR is mood elevating.
Clearly, when you talk about that, when you're referring to things like a sense of calmness, a sense of blissfulness, there are parts of our brain and parts of our body that are involved in that kind of an experience. So when you're talking about a calming, blissful kind of an experience, most likely you're talking about a turning on of a part of the autonomic nervous system called the parasympathetic system. That's generally involved in helping to relax our heart, relax our blood pressure, relax our whole body. It helps to rejuvenate the body itself and ultimately contribute to a very strong sense of calmness in the body.
People feel sympathy for themselves and for one another. People notice beauty more. People can feel their heart more. So their own inner compass, their sense of what's right and wrong, their balance becomes strengthened and they have more confidence in that inner compass. So it can change everything.
Most studies have shown that people who are more optimistic and more calm and stress-free in the ways in which they look at the world, often the better off that they do.
Honestly, I really see mindfulness as something that has multiple applications and just produces what I would call a cascade of positive benefits.
So ultimately, I think there may be some substantial value in bringing in some of these kinds of practices like mindfulness into the school system to help students to deal with the stressors that they face, to help them to focus their attention better, ultimately maybe even to get better grades.
I do think that mindfulness has the potential to completely change the fabric of education, to change the way in which people view learning and understand how learning works.
I think as we develop a familiarity with some of these programs, with bringing meditation into schools, with bringing different forms of relaxation and awareness and communication between peers into schools in a new way, I think we'll see the results quickly, and I think the barriers will disintegrate.
If we can try to help children be more at ease in school and help them to improve in which the way they think about things and clarify the way their thought processes work, by simply having them do a meditation practice for 10 minutes a day, that can be extremely effective and very beneficial without having to radically change everything that we know about how our educational system works.
There's a program out in California, Mindful Schools, that's doing this. They brought mindfulness meditation into the public schools, and their preliminary analysis showed really excellent results.
Most of the kids who do yes say they feel much more confident in themselves and just being themselves. And the things that they share are, I finally have a place I can come where I'm completely accepted and I can just be myself. And now I feel that I can be myself in my daily life. I don't have to put on an act, which is extremely empowering.
We are our mental health, and that starts from birth. And so that there's so much place for it to be integrated in the whole spectrum of education. And it's not just learning about physics, but it's learning about, what you may be feeling or thinking in one day.
In general, in a school, I notice that it starts to shift school environment. Because if you start to shift students' behaviors and give them a way to release stress and give them a way to feel empowered, then it changes the whole culture.
So in terms of health promotion, it makes a lot of sense to teach mindfulness in the schools. We should be giving them skills about how to manage their stress.
I mean, if you look at all the problems in schools, attendance rate is horrible. This improves attendance. Like, I've had so many kids tell me, I look forward to coming to school now because I like this program. So a lot of it is simply like giving kids something to learn where they feel like they're actually learning something that's relevant to their lives, that's personal.
And so it doesn't have its own class. You don't have it, after study hall and before gym. Rather, it's a process or a context of how learning happens instead of something that is learned.
I think school teachers should be taught mindfulness, be offered workshops in mindfulness as part of their professional development. And then they'll be more fully present in the classroom.
This can easily be part of school curriculums. When an administrator or principal or even a superintendent is open to it, I've seen it work wonders. We have a superintendent who's put it into every school in his district because he believes in it.
Part of what we will need to do, I think, and part of the way in which we can kind of market it and explain how valuable it is by doing the research. Is it effective in a school setting? How is it effective? When is it best to do? Is it best to do it in school, out of school?
I think as we learn more about the real potential, we will see the results in manifest form, and we will see schools where students are excelling well beyond other schools, and we'll see students going to college and performing well, and we will see violence reduced, dropouts reduced, and we will see suicide and psychological issues reduced. We'll see drug use reduced, and then there won't be any barriers.